Welcome to The Human Behind the Artist. My name is Larissa, and in this interview series, I talk to artists from the electronic music scene about their journey, their thoughts, and who they are beyond the music. This episode took me to Barcelona to meet Ángel, known by his artist name AN5. It was his track Codicera that caught my attention and made me curious about his artistry. You can hear that his music is shaped by the Celtic elements, the mysticism, and the nature he grew up with in Vigo, a city in Galicia in Spain. There's a genuine depth to his tracks, and what he creates feels true to who he is. You can hear it, and that's what resonated with me. Who's the human behind N5? Let's dive into episode 3. It's nice to have you here, and also that we can meet in Barcelona, the city you're living. We met at the Ciutadella Parc to do the interview. Are you often here?
Sometimes because it's a very tourist place, and for the local people, these places are not frequently visited. Yeah, but sometimes I like to come here for enjoy the park.
A lot is going on in the last weeks for you. You were selected as one of the 3 top producers by Acid Nation. You had a track released on a label. How were the last weeks for you? How do you feel at the moment?
It's very, very nice that people recognize your music and your sound. And I think also that more people that didn't know you because you can share a post with other account with many followers of the industry. It also gives you an opportunity to collaborate with new artists and create new music. It's very nice being recognized for the people that followed you and new people that discovered you.
It's also nice that big artists discovered you, right? And your songs, for example, your latest track was also played by artists you respect, for example, Dixon. How was that for you? How did you find out about that your tracks are played by artists you like, and what happened afterwards?
Yes, it's very curious story because I know that this one played my track because some friends were at 80 these days. So 2 of the friends that be there, I showed to them the track few weeks before. And when Lisa played the track, they recognized it and they called me. I thought when they called me and when they test me, I thought that they were kidding me. Because it had no sense. It's unbelievable, and nowadays for me, I think is the thing that helped more for collaborate with other artists like Jidoko, for example, who I released a track this year called Iowa, and I was because Dixon played my track, and this increased your visibility a lot.
It's like a real momentum, but it's not new for you. You make music for like 10 years now. Would you say now is the time where everything is going a little bit more faster?
Yes, it was a long journey working on music because I started when I was young in a music academy, also in singing academy. I had 10 years, 12 years, 12 years old. And after that, some years later, I started to have interest in electronic music. I was 16 more or less. I start to produce at home, and this is how I start with curiosity, searching on new music.
So how would you describe the tracks you're producing, the sound, the music you make to others who didn't hear it before?
I always try to create music that immerse the people and creates feeling on them when they listen it. With organic textures, with cinematic sounds, also be inspired in Galicia with the Celtic roots that Galicia have.
Your roots, you said, your Galician roots, the hometown Vigo is the city you're coming from in Spain,
Vigo,
right?
yes.
So this is also in the north more, and the tradition from that city is also very influenced by Celtic culture, I read, and the mysticism and religious side of that. So this is all also in your sound. Would you say that?
For example, my track Codicera is inspired in the name is a place in my town where I spent a lot of time when I was child. I always try to focus the adventures that I had when I was little, when I was young. And for creating music, it inspired some figures like Trasnos that are goblins, like goblins in Galicia. And it's a very strong mystic figure there. And also the Santa Compagnia is very, very traditional there. It's like a pilgrimage, very mystic with a lot of people with masks. We have a lot of figures and ancient figures from there.
So you already talked about the things that influence your sound. So when we listen to it, but also you're very ambitious to show that in your visuals. When I see in your socials or when you announce a gig or something. So that's also a big part. Is it important to you to create a whole atmosphere because you feel that as well inside of you and you want to share that? Or is it just kind of, I want to look it good?
I think it's important to create that the music and the image you transmit to the people be connected. It's because I try to create this image and these videos on social media, this image of mystery, and this is why I try to post that my music has sense with my image and my pictures, my videos, the videos that sometimes I create with IA. I think it's all have to be connected.
Yeah, because then you get a whole picture of what is expecting you when you listen to the music, come to your gigs. So you get then a feeling of how it will be. We already talked about that you make music for a long time. I read that last year there was a moment where you decided to go more all in and to produce more. Was there a specific moment, event, or something that happened that made you think, okay, now I'm focusing more on music again?
I think a special moment was when I moved to Barcelona because it was a strong movement and a strong bet because I had work in my city and my family told me it's difficult, it's a big city, all is new.
Yeah.
You have to start from the beginning. I think it's one of the the important moments of my career. Also, when Dixon played my track, it was pure adrenaline. And when I released my first track officially, that it was Samba Pagode with artists from that lives here and the race on rap music. And I think that they were the key moments in my career.
What would you say? I mean, it's a long time making music, and I think some people would stop a few years later or do it just as a hobby and then give it up and do something else. What was it all the years that motivated you to not give up and to do music and then come to this moment?
I think it's because I feel musician more than a producer. I think it's because one of the strong things that keep me working on it and growing and improving. Also because I want to play out of Spain and create music and produce music is an important thing for reach it. These things are the most that motivate me for create.
Yeah. You said you're more musician than producer. What does that mean? What is the difference between a musician and a producer?
I don't want to tell it with those words, but it's easy for me to create without be a strong knowledge about music theory, for example. Always was easy for me to reproduce a song to the piano, for example, the notes with my ear, because I studied on music academy when I was young. This helped me a bit, but it was only for 2 years, so it's not much knowledge you can take. But I think the thing feel more music than producer is the facility for create melodies, harmonies with my ear, know if something sounds good or not.
So it's more an intuitive thing,
Yeah.
comes natural.
Yeah. Sometimes I try to not follow the correct harmonies, for example. If you want to create some expectative on the audience, for example, try to work with notes.
That's very interesting. And I think in your songs, there's also, this is what I feel, there's much emotion. Would you say that you do when you really like to make music and you have ideas and you want to bring them into life?
Sometimes it's hard for me. Some weeks, maybe when I'm more busy, is try to create new music. In that moments, I try to work in other things like mix or master of some old tracks that I had, and I also have a lot of tracks that I didn't send to anyone because I don't feel that they have the quality and they are prepared for that other people listen it, and I think it's not good for me. And about the inspirations, for example, I listen a lot of perspective music. I also inspired in artists like Trick, for example. Hans Zimmer is an artist that inspires me. Cinema, this type of things I think inspires me. Cinema, museums sometimes. When I travel, it inspires me a lot because I like a lot to travel. These things.
That's nice. So we talked a lot about the process, how you came to that music, how you did music. You also have one project you started, which is called Savia Sonora. In this project, you showcase other artists as well. So you give a small interview with them and then they can play their music. Why did you started that? And what was the core idea of it?
Savia Sonora is a project that I have but now it's a bit stopped because I'm trying to focus my thing on production, for example. But yes, I made two parties. One of them was a showcase in the middle of the mountain at night with, I think, 30, 40 people. I want to create intimate party for only a few people. And the second one was in a house in the middle of the mountain also, because I try to create the experience of go there for the people that goes like at an adventure. And I try to fusion nature, the music, the mystic things of Galicia, for example. But the first showcase were in Galicia, but I would like to do it out of Galicia, because I would like to put these figures that I talked before for the people that didn't know them. I would like to work more in the future on it. Also in series called Andanzas, that is podcast with some artists. When I start the podcast with a short interview, and after that, 1 hour set of the artist. And I also want that the artist be as creative as he wants and be completely free to do whatever they want.
When you create that space so the artists can be creative and do whatever they want, do you think this is something which is very important in the industry and is not coming often or happening often? So that's why you create that kind of space for other artists?
I think sometimes some artists try to like to most people possible. And for example, when they play on a big stage or on a big club, they try to make the spec, and the people they can express themselves how they would like.
It's more like fulfilling the expectation of the others than showing what they
Yeah,
really want to show at the end
yeah,
of the
yeah,
day.
yeah. For example, yeah, yeah.
That's very interesting. So, do you think that for you right now, when you're producing music or being an artist, you're right now doing really what you want to do? Or did you already had moments where you, especially after your tracks were played by big artists, I mean, it's a real momentum you want to use, right? Have all the attention. Did you caught yourself thinking about, okay, maybe I have to adjust my sound a little bit because then it will be more popular or get maybe more labels? Or is it, okay, I'm staying true to myself and I hope the right people will recognize it?
I think that I stay true on myself, but sometimes you change a little bit your way, because maybe because you send the tracks to some labels and they don't sign your tracks, so you try to
Adjust it a little bit.
work on more not commercial, but sometimes you try to create your own sound, but it's hard when you work on it for years and you don't have the recognize of the label, for example, because they are more conservative. They want music that works and music that works for most people possible. But I think I changed these last years the sound, because sometimes you change, you don't realize, and you change. But I try to also always to focus on organic sounds, for example, and atmospheres, textures, introduce nature sounds, animals. I don't know, that type of things as they recognize my music, for example.
Why would you say it's so nature focused? Because you say the animals and the sounds. Is it just something you like, or?
I like the nature because I'm from a city that is. For example, my town is all forest. If you get a little bit into the forest, you see a river, different animals. It's like the Amazonas, but in Europe.
That's so nice. So your music is kind of a homage to your hometown, a dedication to remember it.
Yes, it's important things.
Do you feel at the moment just motivated or also pressurized? Because you think, okay, I have to use this moment I have right now and the recognition, and I have to do the best of it. And it's just a fuel for you to go further and produce more like you're doing today.
I feel motivated, but maybe in 2 days I'm less motivated than today, for example. But I think when I go to the studio, is that keep me working on it. And if without expecting, I create a track because sometimes I go to the studio for 2 days and I'm not creative. I can't bounce on any track, any music. And for example, I go a day 2 hours and it's more than 10 hours of the last 2 days. So yes, I feel motivated because I see behind the last years the steps that I reached. For example, the Dixon when Dixon played my track, when I released my first track. Savia Sonora didn't 1 year ago didn't exist, and these things, the image, the atmosphere that I create around my artist vision and my social media, this type of things, I think motivate me a lot. I think it's that keep me working on it more strongly.
So we can expect more in the future from you. Is there something for the rest of the year we can look forward to hear from you or see from you? Do you have something planned already?
I would like to keep creating real things, real music that goes from my inside, and music that I feel. Because if not, I think maybe I would be a bit bored for me. I think the most important thing is create something that I feel and that is together with my atmosphere and the music that I create, the sound that I try to create, this type of things.
So you will stay true to yourself, and that's very important.
Yeah.
Thank you very much for this conversation.
to
It was really nice, of course, and I'm really looking forward to hear more from you.
Thank you.
That was N5. Thank you, Ángel, and thank you all for listening. You'll find his music linked in the show notes, and if you want to hear the next conversation, follow the human behind the artist wherever you're listening. One more thing, if something in this episode stayed with you, send it to the one person who would feel the same. That's how this podcast finds its people it's for. I'm Larissa, and see you in episode 4.